Well, who are you?
My name is Kanan. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
So you must be in high school.
I got to graduate early, actually.
Wow.
You just got it done.
At just 17 years old, the young man from Dallas, Texas walked onto the American Idol stage and in under 2 minutes left an entire room of seasoned professionals speechless. His name is Kanan James, and while most teenagers are just figuring out their path, Kanan had already mapped his out with extraordinary clarity. What audiences saw on screen was a calm, confident singer with a rich gospel voice. But behind that moment lies a story that even American Idol couldn't fully capture. This isn't just another contestant hoping for a record deal. Kanan's journey is steeped in spiritual conviction, personal sacrifice, and a desire to heal, not just entertain. While the judges praised his performance, many viewers didn't realize that the voice echoing through their screens came from a place of deep pain, purpose, and faith. The crowd saw a singer, but what they didn't see was the preacher in training who gave up a traditional path to pursue a calling far beyond music charts. This wasn't just a performance, it was a ministry in motion. And while Kanan's soulful rendition of I Need Your Glory earned him the final platinum ticket of the season, that moment was only the surface. Behind the lights, the cameras, and the applause is a story of resilience, divine inspiration, and a mission that could redefine what American Idol stands for. What you're about to hear goes far deeper than what aired on TV. Because Kanan James didn't come to Idol to chase fame. He came to deliver a message. And once you know the full story, you might never look at the show the same way again. Long before the stage lights and studio applause, Kanan James Hill's story began in the modest neighborhoods of Dallas, Texas, where the melodies of gospel music were more than background noise. They were lifelines. Raised by a single mother who juggled 2 jobs just to make ends meet, waiting tables at a local diner by day and scrubbing floors by night, Kanan's early life was anything but easy. There were no private lessons or luxury studios, just the hum of faith echoing through Sunday services and the unwavering strength of a mother determined to give her son a better future. His earliest musical memories trace back to his grandfather, a gospel singer whose performances planted the first seeds of inspiration in young Kanan's heart. For him, watching his grandfather wasn't about the notes, it was about the spirit behind them. That spirit would soon become his own compass. While other kids found escape in cartoons or video games, Kanan found solace in hymns. Singing in church wasn't just a performance, it was communion, a sacred space where he could channel his fears, hopes, and dreams into every note. The church became his sanctuary and the music his medicine. And as his voice matured, it began to carry not just melodies, but messages. His surroundings may have lacked wealth, but they were rich in spiritual power, and Kanan absorbed every ounce. Gospel music didn't just influence him, it formed him. It was his emotional language, his armor, and his mission all wrapped into one. With each passing year, it became clearer. This wasn't a passing interest or a childhood phase. It was a calling, one that would soon set him on a path far different from his peers. But that path didn't start with applause. It started with struggle. And it's the struggle that made the music mean something. While many teenagers spend their high school years preparing for prom or SATs, Kanan James Hill was preparing for something else entirely, a life devoted to ministry. Long before he stood under the lights of American Idol, Kanan had already felt a profound and personal spiritual calling. It wasn't an impulsive decision or a fleeting dream. From a young age, Kanan recognized that his voice wasn't just a talent. It was a tool, a vessel meant to uplift, inspire, and heal. That awareness guided every step of his early life, culminating in a decision that would set him apart from nearly every other contestant in Idol history. Kanan graduated high school early, not to fast-track fame or leap into college, but to devote himself entirely to his spiritual path. He chose ministry over mainstream, sermons over social life, and purpose over popularity. That choice, though deeply personal, was also revolutionary for someone his age. In a culture that often pressures young people to chase trends and external validation, Kanan chose stillness, reflection, and service. His peers were preparing for college orientation. He was preparing for the pulpit. He believed fully and unapologetically that he had been called to lead, not just in song, but in spirit. And this wasn't just about preaching from a stage. For Kanan, music and ministry were inseparable, two halves of the same divine mission. His performances weren't meant to impress, they were meant to awaken, to reach hearts that were hurting, to guide people toward hope. That's why when the opportunity came to audition for American Idol, he didn't see it as a launch pad for celebrity. He saw it as a platform for testimony, a chance to reach souls beyond the walls of a church. And that kind of conviction doesn't come from ambition. It comes from calling, the kind that turns a teenager into a messenger. And it was that very calling that would soon capture the attention of millions. When Kanan James walked into the American Idol audition room, there was no fanfare, no theatrics, just a calm presence and quiet conviction that immediately set him apart. The judges, accustomed to nervous energy and rehearsed introductions, were met with something different. A 17-year-old who carried himself not like a contestant, but like a vessel for something far greater. Then came the moment that changed everything. Kanan chose to sing Ernest Pugh's gospel anthem, I Need Your Glory, a song not designed to impress with vocal gymnastics, but to stir something deeper in the soul. And it did. From the very first note, a silence fell over the room, not of indifference, but of reverence. Lionel Richie, a legend with decades of musical experience, stood up mid-performance, visibly moved by the raw spiritual force in Kanan's voice. I couldn't sit still, he would later say, overwhelmed by what he described as a spectacular, soul-shaking performance. Carrie Underwood, seated in as a guest judge, called his tone velvet and butter, a rare combination of warmth and control. Luke Bryan, known for his humor, broke into a wide grin before joking that people probably sprint to the baptismal pit when Kanan sings. But this wasn't just about technical praise. It was about the effect his voice had on the room, on the energy, on the moment itself. Kanan wasn't just performing, he was ministering. His audition didn't just earn applause, it earned the season's final platinum ticket, a rare and coveted honor that allowed him to skip the first round of Hollywood Week. It was a clear signal that something extraordinary had just occurred. Yet for Kanan, the ticket wasn't a reward, it was a responsibility. Because for him, this audition wasn't the peak. It was just the beginning of a bigger purpose. And soon, that purpose would be tested in front of millions. As American Idol's competition intensified, so did the pressure. And yet, Kanan James Hill remained unwavering. In a season packed with powerhouse vocalists and genre-bending performers, Kanan stayed true to his roots. He wasn't there to chase trends or pivot for the sake of competition. He was there with a mission, and every performance became an extension of his spiritual journey. During the high-stakes showstopper round, Kanan returned to the stage with Marvin Sapp's emotional gospel ballad, Never Would Have Made It, a song deeply tied to personal struggle and divine reliance. The choice wasn't accidental. It was a declaration, a message to viewers and judges alike. This is who I am, and this is what I represent. His performance, full of nuance and heartfelt delivery, not only solidified his place in the top 24, but also reinforced his role as the season's spiritual anchor. Then came his performance at Disney's Aulani Resort in Hawaii, where he sang Fred Hammond's Glory to Glory to Glory. Despite battling allergies, a challenge that would derail many seasoned performers, Kanan delivered with poise, grace, and control. His vocal strength remained intact, but more importantly, his sincerity never wavered. Judges praised not just the sound, but the soul behind it. Week after week, he proved that consistency wasn't about repetition, it was about rootedness. In an environment that often rewards surprise twists and genre hopping, Kanan's refusal to compromise his message became a bold stance. It was a reminder that there is power in standing still when the world wants you to move. While others changed styles to stay relevant, Kanan stayed honest to stay impactful. And in doing so, he continued to earn not just votes, but reverence. Still, staying in one lane has its risks in a show like Idol, and that tension was about to come to the surface. As Kanan James Hill's presence on American Idol grew stronger, so did the debate surrounding his place in the competition. While fans were quick to celebrate his emotionally charged gospel performances, others began to ask a different question. Could someone so firmly rooted in a single genre truly thrive in a show built on versatility? Idol, after all, has long been a platform for artists expected to stretch, adapt, and surprise, from country crooners dabbling in pop to soul singers taking on rock anthems. But Kanan wasn't budging. Week after week, he returned to his spiritual core, using each song as an act of worship and healing. And while that consistency inspired millions, it also drew criticism. Online forums and comment sections lit up with opposing views. Some viewers argued that Kanan's commitment to gospel limited his growth potential and didn't align with Idol's commercial goals. Others questioned whether it was fair to other contestants who were being pushed to show range across multiple genres, while Kanan remained in his lane. Critics feared he was preaching to the choir, literally, and doubted his ability to attract a broader audience once the competition ended. Yet for every skeptic, there were hundreds who stood by him. Supporters flooded social media with messages of praise, calling Kanan a breath of fresh air in an industry often dominated by manufactured personas. They didn't just hear his voice, they felt his heart, and that, many argued, was what truly mattered. In a time when authenticity is rare, Kanan represented something real, a young man grounded in faith, driven by purpose, and unafraid to be different. To his fans, he wasn't just a contestant, he was a movement. But the criticism highlighted a larger question that Idol itself had to confront. Is the show still about finding the next big star, or is it evolving into a platform for artists with deeper missions? Kanan's journey was forcing that conversation, and it was far from over. While Kanan James stood firm in his gospel identity, he wasn't the only contestant this season to carry the weight of faith on their shoulders. Enter Colby Jordan, a 26-year-old powerhouse from Tulsa, Oklahoma, whose presence brought a different kind of gospel fire to the American Idol stage. Like Kanan, Colby grew up steeped in soulful music and spiritual expression. Her rendition of Chrisette Michelle's Epiphany, I'm Leaving, earned her the first platinum ticket of the season. An honor that not only highlighted her vocal prowess, but also signaled that she, too, was a force to be reckoned with. Lionel Richie was so impressed, he called Colby's idol the legendary Patti LaBelle to share the moment. It was a gesture that spoke volumes about the level of respect Colby commanded. But as the season progressed, viewers began to draw comparisons between the two gospel voices. Both were spiritually driven, emotionally resonant, and rooted in the church tradition. But their approaches were notably different. Colby, while firmly grounded in gospel, demonstrated a flexibility in tone and genre that gave her a slight edge in the eyes of those prioritizing range. Her performances hinted at an artist who could cross over, experiment, and possibly find footing in both faith-based and secular markets. Kanan, by contrast, remained unshakably true to his gospel core. His power wasn't in adaptation, it was in spiritual authenticity. And that unwavering commitment, while inspiring, left some wondering how he'd respond to the inevitable Idol genre challenges. The conversation wasn't just about talent, it was about strategy. Who would go further? The one who could do it all? Or the one who refused to change? As audiences rallied behind both voices, Idol faced a dynamic rarely seen before. Two gospel warriors walking separate paths under the same spotlight. And the results of that tension would soon unfold, not just in the votes, but in how each artist chose to shape their post-Idol legacy. Beyond the American Idol stage, Kanan James has quickly become a rising force in the digital world, where his message of faith, resilience, and purpose continues to resonate far beyond the reach of television. With over 55,000 followers on Instagram, Kanan uses the platform not to chase trends, but to testify. His feed is filled with raw performance clips, behind-the-scenes snapshots, and reflective captions that reveal a young man who isn't just performing music. He's living his mission. While many contestants use social media as a curated highlight reel, Kanan's presence feels more like a ministry in motion. Whether it's a simple video of him singing in his room or a post expressing gratitude for his journey, his content connects. It inspires, and it reminds viewers that his artistry is not a persona, it's a purpose. His TikTok, though newer, is already gaining traction, showcasing both his vocal talent and a softer, personal side that fans have grown to love. Even on Twitter, where Kanan himself isn't extremely active, his performances have gone viral thanks to reposts from fans and the official American Idol account. His audition clip in particular sparked thousands of retweets, comments, and discussions across social platforms, many of which celebrated his authenticity in an industry often criticized for being overly polished. For young people of faith, Canaan has become a rare symbol, proof that staying true to your values doesn't mean staying small. His growing influence online has allowed him to reach an audience well beyond Idol's weekly viewership. And while he may not post daily or flood the internet with content, every time he does share something, it leaves an impact. In a digital age defined by noise, Canaan stands out with clarity. His voice echoes not just through music halls, but through timelines, stories, and hearts. And as his platform continues to grow, so does the possibility that he's not just building a fan base, he's building a movement. As the American Idol season unfolds and the competition tightens, one thing about Kanan James Hill becomes increasingly clear. He was never just a contestant. From his very first audition to his unwavering commitment to gospel through every round, Canaan has consistently shown that his presence on the show isn't about chasing fame or fitting a mold. It's about something deeper, something sacred. While other singers chase votes by showcasing their versatility, Canaan has taken a different route, one defined not by reinvention, but by revelation. He's not here to prove he can do it all. He's here to remind the world that doing one thing with soul, sincerity, and purpose can be more powerful than any genre switch. To some, that may seem limiting. To others, it's revolutionary. Because in a show built around adapting and pleasing the crowd, Canaan's refusal to compromise becomes its own form of rebellion. And in that quiet defiance lies his strength. Every note he sings, every word he shares, every moment he's on screen, it all feels like a message, carefully wrapped in melody. It's no surprise then that his supporters don't just call themselves fans, they call themselves followers. Not in the celebrity sense, but in the sense of walking alongside someone who is trying to lead with light. Whether he wins a competition or not is beside the point, because Canaan has already carved a space for himself where few Idol contestants ever reach. A place of deeper meaning. He's not just making music, he's making impact. In doing so, he's challenging the very foundation of what a star looks like in today's world. Maybe that's the bigger takeaway. That Kanan James Hill didn't come to American Idol to be shaped by the show. He came to shape it, to stretch its boundaries, to ask, what if authenticity could win? And whether or not he takes home a title, that question and his journey will echo far